Then I started looking at a picture, random picture, but I really took my time. And he sort of kept on looking at me and thinking, oh, who's this nobody, this art history student? And he decided that it wasn't interesting, so he left the room. And the moment I was alone in the room, I went straight to the picture, took as many pictures I could with my camera, looked at it very carefully, made some notes quickly, and then ran away.
Jan's next stop was an art history bookshop nearby. He wanted to compare this portrait of a young man with other works by Rembrandt.
And it really did stand out with a portrait in the National Gallery.
The portrait in question was of a man called Philip Lucas, painted in 1635, featuring a similar elaborate white collar.
So then I said bye-bye to the book dealer and ran as quickly as I could to the National Gallery, which is also quite close by. I made it, I think, still half an hour before they would close. And I went to the Rembrandt rooms and held my camera next to the portrait of Philip Lucas and decided on that spot, my God, this is him. It was a very strange moment because it is a bit like an astronaut making the first step on the moon, because you are the person that really knows this. And at that moment you think nobody else in the whole world knows this. This is amazing. I remember walking out of the museum thinking, wow, it's like floating through air. My God, how exciting.
But Jan wasn't the only person who'd spotted the potential work. Another Dutch art dealer claims he had too, and he and Jan had agreed to buy the work together, something Jan denies. How much was this painting listed for in the auction? And also, if experts believed that it was a Rembrandt, how much could it then be worth?
Christie's, I think, I don't recall, but I think something like 15 to 20,000 pounds. What is it worth is subjective, because no Rembrandt is equal. But it's clearly more than £1 million.
And it can also sometimes be more than £100 million.
You do have these enormous prices, but I don't think that's realistic in comparison to this portrait. But certainly it's worth considerably more than the auction house presented it as. But you know, in all fairness, that was the least of the real worries, because the real worry is, am I right?
So you had this very strong conviction. You managed to find an investor who said that he would help you out buying it. And you also spoke to a renowned Rembrandt expert who also said he thought it could be. I mean, he wasn't 100%.
Well, very carefully said, I can't say no, but I can't definitely say yes. But in the end of the day, you have to back yourself. You have to understand that if you go on that adventure, then you're the captain. You have to make it work.
Auction day came in London. Jan wasn't there in person. He didn't want people to realise that he, an art dealer and Rembrandt expert, was the person trying to get hold of the painting. The bidding went higher than expected, but eventually the hammer went down and Jan and his investor had bought themselves a potential Rembrandt. How much did you get it for at auction?
I think in total around £130,000.
And when you then had the painting in front of you and you could actually sit with it rather than sort of being scared looking at it in a showroom, what was your experience?
I recall it as your gut feeling was true. Of course, what also happened is that certain questions did arise. One of the main questions that I didn't understand, which I clearly didn't properly look at in the catalogue or at Christie's, was the background. It didn't look at all as something with depth, and with Rembrandt usually it does. It didn't scare me, but I thought there's something going on here. So once we brought it to the store, they said, you know what, that background is completely overpainted. There's something underneath. And then, of course, that first layer came off, and then they said, you know what, there's a second layer. And then the second layer came off. And then the third layer showed actually the rudiments of a drapery. And then it all started to make sense properly. So that was quite exciting.
Aside from the painted-over background, the painting wasn't in great shape. It needed cleaning, more x-rays needed to be taken to help prove it came from Rembrandt himself. Then finally, after about a year, Jan invited that Rembrandt expert who hadn't been sure if the painting was by the Dutch master to look at it again.
Finally, he gave his consent. He said, I now see, I understand all the facets, and I can firmly say this is by Rembrandt. For me, that was a great moment. But I did